Okay, hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, I just want to check to make sure that everybody can hear me and can see me as well as my slides. So just let me know in the chat. Um, we'll give about maybe 1 more minute to let more people join our session before we get started. So yeah, let me know in the chat in the meantime if you guys can hear me and see me. Also, let me know, um, excuse me. Also, let me know if you guys have any requests for any charts that you like to see. Okay, and we will get started in about 30 more seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be talking about this week's pre-market analysis. Before I get started, I just want to apologize for my voice. I'm still recovering from a sore throat, so if you guys can't hear me or I'm not clear, just let me know in the chat. Okay, so as per usual, a disclaimer and risk warning. Hmm, just 1 second, I'm not sure why my slides aren't moving. Okay, so as per usual, disclaimer and risk warning. IC markets does not represent the material provided here as accurate, current, or complete, and therefore shouldn't be relied upon as such. Trading forex and CFDs carries a high level of risk to your capital, and you should only trade with money that you can afford to lose. Trading forex and CFDs may not be suitable for all investors, so please ensure that you fully understand the risks involved and seek independent advice if necessary. Please read and ensure that you fully understand our risk disclosure. Okay, so here's our agenda. I'll be taking any requests throughout the webinar. So just feel free to let me know in the chat. Okay, and I'm your host for today. I'm Melanie, and I'm an investment analyst at Rocket, who are finalists for Best FX and Equity Research in the years 2019 to 2021. We specialize in technical analysis with a focus on Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. Okay, now let's firstly take a look at this week's events that are happening around the world. Okay, so for this, you can use any economic calendar that you prefer. We just typically use Forex Factory, but it's entirely up to you what you choose to use. So, clicking on today's date, let's look at this week's events. Oops. Okay, so we like to have it filtered to only focus on the medium to high impact events, which are basically represented by the orange and red icons. Gray is basically any non-economic events like bank holidays, and yellow is any lower impact events. So, and I prefer to have all my event types ticked, but you can get rid of any if you're not interested. And you can filter any currencies that you're not currently looking at as well. I just prefer to look at all of them. So you can see if we are looking at all of the events that are happening for the week, there's a lot more events to cover. So that's why we mainly just focus on the medium to higher impact events, so orange and red. Okay, so for today, Monday, February 10th, China will be releasing their new loans. ECB President Lagarde will be speaking as well. And tomorrow, Tuesday, is Japan's bank holiday. UK BOE Gov Bailey will be speaking, and Fed Chair Powell testifies as well in the US. On Wednesday, we have US inflationary data, so our CPI data will be released. It's estimated to our core CPI month on month is expected to go up slightly to 0.3%. Our year-on-year data is expected to remain the same, and monthly expected to drop slightly. And we also have crude oil inventories in the US. On Thursday, we have FOMC member Wallace speaking, and Kiwi inflation expectations, UK's GDP data, Switzerland's CPI month-on-month data, US core PPI data as well, and unemployment claims. And lastly, on Friday, there will be core retail sales and retail sales data for the US. Okay, now let's pull out our charts and we can get started. Okay, do you guys have any requests for any charts you'd like to see? If not, we'll go ahead and get started with DXY. Can everyone see my charts? Okay, great. So let's get started with DXY. Okay, I'm just going to rename this to today's event. Okay, so let's start off with DXY. I like to start by looking at the higher time frames so that we kind of get an idea of the direction that prices are headed towards. Okay, so on a weekly time frame, you can see prices generally moving in an uptrend, although there's been a slight rebound recently over here. Now on our daily time frame, we also see that recent drop from this resistance level here, the swing high. So I'll maybe label this as our first resistance. And for my pivot, I will place it over here because it's in line with two swing highs. Okay, and next, looking at our support level, I will place an intermediate support level over here. Yeah, here. Okay, I'm placing an intermediate support more than the first support because it's quite close to where price is currently at. But I also want to take note of it because it's in line with two swing low highs and a swing low here as well. So it's at overlap level. So chances are prices are likely to test that area again. Okay, so next I'm going to place my first support over here, just at this swing low here. Okay. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, I've tried to change the settings so that it's not as buffery. Because I'm looking at the video on YouTube and it shows it's not very smooth. Yeah, I hope this works. But okay, um, so I have my support and resistance levels laid out. The next step is to pull out our Fibonacci levels to support these horizontal levels. Okay, I'm starting off with a retracement. My 50% lines up with the first support. So it doesn't really have to line up exactly when it comes to Fibonacci levels because we're more so looking for confluence areas instead of specific levels. Okay, so as long as it's kind of near it, that's good enough. So my 50% retracement, um, I'm also going in with maybe a Fibonacci extension. Okay, my 161 lines up with the first resistance. So if you're unfamiliar with any of the Fibonacci techniques, we have an entire Fibonacci playlist. Basically, it's a 4-part series where we go really in depth into each Fibonacci technique. But in the meantime, I'll just briefly explain what we're looking for here. So for extensions, we are using the levels that are greater than 100%, and we're also looking for this Nike tick kind of shape. Yeah, so you can see here, I'm using the 161. We also use the 127. Okay, I'm not using that here because price has already broken out of it, so it's no longer valid. Okay, but my 161 lines up with the first resistance. Next, I might go in with a projection, which uses the trend-based fib extension tool. It basically has um, three points that you can connect. So the 161 also lines up with my first resistance, so I'm going to be keeping that as well. Okay, I think if we zoom in, we have another Fibonacci extension here, or Nagitick shape. Okay, if you can't really see it, let me draw it out for you. Okay, so if it's inverted, it can work as well. It'll just look something like that. Mm, okay, next I'm going in with another projection. So my 161 also lines up here. So for this, we're using the projection, which we look for this kind of lightning bolt kind of shape, or like a Harry Potter flash kind of symbol. Okay, and I'm basically projecting that prices might continue downwards. So here I'm expecting prices have already bounced off the intermediate support, so I'm expecting it to reverse back down here. Okay, I was thinking of placing it here because it's closer to where price is currently at and it's in line with this swing high. But over here, we are cutting too many candlesticks, so I'm going to place it at this swing low instead. Okay, okay. Let's take a look at some indicators and see if they support our analysis. I like to start off with Ichimoku and MACD, because at one glance you can see exactly what the signals are. So there are a lot of ways to use Ichimoku, because there are so many lines. The most efficient way would be to just focus on the cloud. So you can see in the background we have prices kind of bouncing off the cloud recently. If we look at MACD, that supports our analysis, that prices are going to continue to drop. Um, Over here, we're not too sure. It looks like it's bouncing off the cloud, but we might see it break into the cloud. So I'm gonna KIV Ichimoku for now. Okay, next let's look at RSI and stochastic. Okay, with stochastic, we have prices moving in this descending trend line. So that supports our analysis. Let's see if there's one here on our RSI as well. Okay, yeah, we have prices moving in this descending trend line as well on our RSI. Okay, so they both support our analysis. Next, I'll maybe look at moving averages. So I like to use EMA, SMA. I like to use parabolic star as well. Okay, so let's zoom in. Okay, parabolic star is basically the dotted indicator, and prices are currently moving above that, so it doesn't support analysis. It's giving us more of a bullish signal, whereas the EMA and SMA are giving us prices recently crossed below both of the indicators, so it does support our analysis for now. But we'll KIV that as well. But for now, it does support our analysis. Let's maybe look at Bollinger Bands. Okay, it's crossing below that middle band. Let me hide these two. It's still in the lower band, so it does support, but I'm gonna KIV this as well. Okay, because it's not as strong of an indication that prices are going to continue to drop. So if it's not giving us a very strong signal, selling signal, then I don't really want to use it for now. Okay, so that's for DXY. Are there any questions? Hmm. Okay, let's maybe look at gold now. Okay, we have a very clear uptrend here. Now on our daily time frame, okay, I'm gonna place a first okay, no, I'll place a pivot here. Because it seems like prices have recently reversed off the pivot slightly. Okay, and then I'll place my first support here. And um, I'll use Fibonacci to for my first resistance. Okay, so to start off, I'm using a Fibonacci projection, and then now I'm using a the Nike tick shape. So the Nike tick shape is something like that. Okay, and I'm projecting where it's going to reverse off this 161. But let's look at all fibs. The 127 is just in line with the pivot as well. So I'll keep both the 127 and the 161. Okay, next I'm just going to keep the 61 and the 78. Okay, my first resistance will be up here. So it's in line with this confluence area. So remember, a confluence area is basically when two or more Fibonacci levels line up. Mm. And what's important about Fibonacci levels is that these confluence areas, prices tend to be attracted to them, but might not be able to push past them. So that's why we want to be able to identify them. So my retracement here, 23.6, lines up with the first support. Okay, so I'm expecting prices to reverse slightly, but still break out of this area here. Okay, I am expecting it to continue in this uptrend. Although I do suspect there might be a slight reversal since I mean, you can kind of already see it reversing slightly. And also because it's in line with the 127 and the 61 projection. Okay, now let's pull out our indicators to support our analysis. So again, I'm using Ichimoku and MACD to start. So here at one glance, you can see prices moving above the Ichimoku cloud and above all the other lines as well. So that is giving us a bullish signal. MACD is giving us a pretty strong bullish momentum as well. EMA, SMA, I like to use SAR as well. So again, you can see prices moving very clearly in this uptrend with prices moving above both the moving averages and the parabolic SAR. And I'll also use RSI stochastic. Um, yeah, you can see prices moving in this ascending trend line as well. On RSI, I don't think we have an ascending trend line on stochastic. Let's take a look. Okay, we do. Okay, So remember, for a valid trend line, it needs to have at least 3 touches on the trend line, which we have here. And lastly, I just want to check Bollinger Bands as well. Okay, you can see prices moving above, pushing above that upper band, so it is giving us a strong bullish signal. Okay, this is gold. Okay, we also have a request for Aus dollar, so let's take a look at that now. So for AUD, we can see prices generally dropping. Let's look at our daily time frame. Okay, there's been a slight reversal here. So I'll place a pivot at the swing high here. Oops. This should be a pivot. And my first resistance maybe at this swing low, because it's in line with 2 swing lows here. And lastly, for my first support, maybe here. Okay, I'm going to place an intermediate support level here as well, just in line with the swing low. Okay, simply because it's in line with multiple swing lows here. Okay, now going in again with our Fibonacci levels. Starting off simple with our retracement. I have the 23 lining up with the pivot, 38 lining up with my first resistance. And next I'm going in with a Fibonacci extension or the Nike tick as well. Okay, um, the 161 does line up with the first support. 127 price has already broken out of it, so I can't use that anymore. So in this case, it's an inverted Nike tick. So you can see it's upside down. Let's look at our projections. Okay, my 161 projection also lines up. So I'm going to keep that. So again, for this method, if you're unfamiliar, we're basically looking for a lightning bolt kind of shape or like a zigzag kind of shape. I think that's all the Fibonacci levels we have. Okay, my 100% lines up, so I'm going to keep that as well. Okay, so you can see here at our first support, there's a huge confluence area here. Okay, so I am expecting prices to reverse off the pivot and continue downwards towards our first support. Okay, now let's pull out some indicators. Let's look at Ichimoku MACD. So here prices are moving below the cloud. We can see that. So that supports our analysis. MACD, on the other hand, is giving us a pretty bullish signal. So that doesn't support our analysis. Let's look at some indicators. EMA, SMA again. Parabolic saw. Okay, so parabolic saw, you can see prices are moving below it, so that does support our analysis. But with our moving averages, prices recently passed above it, recently crossed above, so that doesn't support our analysis. Let's look at RSI and stochastic. Okay, these two don't really tell us anything right now. Oh, there is a let's see if we have any levels. Okay, we do have a descending trend line on the RSI. I don't think we have one on the stochastic. No. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of the stochastic. RSI is supporting our analysis. Okay, so that's for Aussie dollar. I'm expecting it to reverse off the pivot and continue to drop in this downtrend. Okay. Next, let's maybe look at, okay, there's a request for crosses. So we can look at pound Oz. Um, yeah, let's look at pound Oz. Mm, okay. Okay, so in our weekly time frame, we have prices generally moving in this uptrend, daily as well. We might have an ascending trend line here. Yeah, okay. Um, Next I'll place a pivot just at where price is at. Mm, yeah, okay. And then my first support just at this swing low. And my first resistance up here. Okay, I'm not gonna place it so high because I'm expecting prices to continue to drop. So my first resistance will be here. This, I'll maybe place a first support here and an intermediate support here. Okay. Now I'm going in with the projection. Okay, the 78 and 100 both line up. I'm going in with a retracement as well. Okay, 61, 78 both lines up with my support levels. I think that might be all the levels we have. So now I'm going to pull out some indicators. Prices are moving within the cloud. So it's kind of in a transition period. I'm not going to use that. Prices are moving below the EME and SME, so that supports our analysis. MACD, you can see, is giving us a bit of a bullish signal, so I'm not going to use that. RSI, okay, prices are moving in a descending trend line, so that supports. Stochastic doesn't really. Oh, we have a hidden support or hidden resistance here. Okay, so basically what that means is you can see on our price chart, prices made higher highs and lower highs, but on our stochastic, they just reversed off that same hidden resistance level. So it does suggest that prices are going to continue to drop. Okay, so here I'm expecting prices to continue to break below that pivot um, and head towards our first support. Okay, so that's for pound Oz. Next, we'll look at a major pair. Let's maybe look at pound USD, yep. And if we have time, we'll look at Bitcoin as well. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, so starting with pound dollar, as usual, I like to look at the higher time frames. So on a weekly time frame, prices are generally dropping as well. Daily time frame as well. Okay, so I'll place my first resistance up here. A first support maybe here, in line with the overlap level. Okay, and I'll maybe place the first support here instead. Actually, no. I'll, mm, yeah, and then I'll place an intermediate support right over here. Mm, okay, okay, we don't have any retracements that line up here. Mm, okay, we have the 161 lining up with the first support. Okay, my 61, excuse me, 61 retracement also lines up with the first resistance. And then I think we might have another one here, 50%. Yeah. Okay, now let's pull out some indicators. Okay, price is moving below the cloud, so it does support our analysis. MACD doesn't support our analysis. Let's look at RSI, stochastic, EMA, SMA. Okay, prices are moving below the EMA and SMA, so that's the support analysis. Again, we have the hidden resistance that I mentioned earlier, or maybe here. Okay, okay, and we have prices moving in the descending trend line on the RSI. Okay, so overall, that does support our analysis. I'm expecting prices to continue to drop here, towards our first support. Okay, so that's for pound dollar. We have time for maybe one more. Let's look at Bitcoin. Okay, so weekly time frame, recently prices have been dropping. Um, I'm going to place an intermediate, or rather maybe a first support here. because it's in line with so many swing lows. And I'm also going to place a first resistance up here and a pivot maybe just at this swing pullback resistance. Okay, because it's closer to where price is at. Okay, let's see if we have any retracements. The 38.2 lines up with the first support, so I'm going to keep that. And the projection 100% lines up with the first support as well. Okay, so I'm expecting prices to continue to drop towards the first support. Similarly, let's pull out some indicators. Okay, prices are moving below the cloud. MACD is giving us a bearish signal as well. Prices are moving below the EMA and SMA. This isn't really a descending trend line, but you can definitely see prices dropping on the RSI and on the stochastic as well. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we can quickly look at dollar CAD as well. Okay, let's quickly complete this. I think this will be our last one for today. So on our daily time frame, I'm going to place a pivot here. Put a first resistance up here. Okay, and a first support maybe around here. Okay, just an intermediate maybe closer to where price is currently at. %50 and 61 as well as the 38 actually both all line up. 38 50 and 61. Okay. Okay, my 100% lines up with the pivot. With the 61 as well. Okay, I think that's all the levels we have here. Now so I'm expecting prices to continue to drop at least till the 50%, although just be careful that there is a confluence area here. Okay, but let's take a look at some indicators and see if there's enough downward pressure pushing it down. Okay, so Ichimoku wise, prices are moving into the cloud, so it's kind of a transition phase. I'm not going to use that. MACD is giving us a bullish signal. Oops. EMA, SMA, RSI, stochastic. Um, okay, prices are moving in this descending trend line. Prices are also dropping. There's no descending trend line on the RSI, but you can see prices dropping as well. Okay, so yep, that's for dollar CAD. Okay. Any questions? If not, yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys found this session helpful. Apologies for my throat. I will be better the next time I see you guys. In the meantime, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.